With a couple of exceptions, it seems to me that most of what you don't, that you think you don't have, that you might want, could be done statutorily and is not an impossibility for it to be done statutorily. In other words, I don't think you need to constitutionalize some of the picayune things that you might like to have changed a bit. The one thing that I think might well be on your agenda, I think it is, there is no constitutional crisis with respect to local government, in my judgment. We've got basically a good sound structure, and it just needs some, fixing up mostly at the statutory level. The one thing that I suspect you may well have in mind, and I fully understand this, and I'm very sympathetic, is the mandates problem. We've tried it statutorily, and I don't think it's ever worked yet. It doesn't work terribly well in most other states as well, as a matter of fact. That there is some evidence that it works a little better in the states and I think that's about 11 or 12 of them that have a constitutional mandates provision. More so than in the states that have only a statutory mandates provision. So that's one thing, you might want to keep open as one possibility. The other thing that I think is likely to come up is consolidation of local governments. We're notorious for having the largest number of local governments in the entire United States. Well, officially, I think it's 6,054. When I was controller and we had to take revenue estimates or financial statements from all of them, we counted once 7,151 units. We couldn't find a few of them, but we knew they were out there. I think there's going to be some discussion. There could be some discussion about that, and you may have differing points of view about whether that's good or bad. But the only crisis, I think, the only thing you might really want to open up for without risking the things that could be negative with respect to the strength of local government in this state, I think, is the mandates issue. Other than that, and if you can find a subtle way to bring that up, do so. Other than that, I would say leave well enough alone. You've got an awfully good article right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. Next, I'd like to hear for a moment or two from Nancy on her feelings towards what the professor just said, or any add-ons to that.
I think Dawn, as always, did an excellent job in analyzing and presenting the law of the state of Illinois, which she has been so fundamentally important in shaping over the years. I can tell you that I'm here to tell you that I'm really against this constitutional convention, and with all due respect to the elected officials that are here, because I know that this is a group process and a group situation that we're in Springfield, but I'm against the constitutional convention because I'm scared of endangering the people of Illinois and the laws on which they rely, and opening them up to the political mischief and turmoil that has been ripping apart Springfield for the last 2 years. I think what's happening in Springfield is terrible. And what would happen if people are angry about what was happening in Springfield, people are angry about that, and it's the November 08 election, it's a presidential year, there's a senatorial race, they'll get down to that referendum that says, do you want a constitutional convention? And people say, yeah, I'm angry with what's happening in Springfield, so therefore I want to have a constitutional convention. But the net impact of that is when you pass that, when that referendum passes, if it should pass, it means that the Illinois legislature would have the authority to determine the way con delegates would be selected and how the Constitutional Convention would operate. And so basically you're saying to the people in Springfield, we are giving you the right not only to try to pass a budget, to try to save the CTA, to try to do some of the things that they should be doing now, we're giving you the right to rewrite our Constitution. And all of those bills of rights and the home rule powers and all those things that are so critical to how we function. Right now, I mean, in Springfield, they can't decide on casinos. They can't, my CTA buses all around my house are scheduled to stop in 2 weeks. The annual budget, we're in the 5th month of overtime in the legislature. I think that we really do not want to open this up to the kind of mischief that can affect them. We do not want to open home rule up. We do not want to open up how judges are selected. We do not want to open up how death penalties are handled. But to top it all off, I mean, if you were to just like to say you disagree with everything that I've said, the bottom line is it cost $31 million to do the Constitutional Convention 40 years ago, and you know it's going to cost at least $80 million. And I don't see anyone coming up with this pot of gold that is going to fund that Constitutional Convention in the future. So I can continue on talking about this, but I know we want to let everybody else have their input and hear their suggestions. But I think this is an extraordinarily dangerous thing. And the more angry you are about what's happening in Springfield, the more you should be against the Constitutional Convention.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, we're going to be hearing from Lieutenant Governor Pat Quinn with comments. They won't give you a mic, will they? Okay.
Well, with all due respect to Nancy, I think what she just said is a pretty good argument for a constitutional convention. I happen to believe in everyday people who elect legislators. They may make mistakes from time to time, but the idea of a constitutional convention is that once every generation, and it's embodied in our Constitution now, once every 20 years, or essentially every generation, the people who pay the taxes, who are the heart and soul of our government, get a chance to reshuffle the deck. And we've had a very bad year in Springfield. I think everyone would say that. And when the voters see this discord, it may be the only way to resolve a lot of these ancient problems is for the voters to step in and breathe some fresh air into the system. And I think that was the genius behind having a automatic vote every 20 years to allow the people to gauge what's going on with their government.